Hello, my name is Steve Curran, and I'm going to be talking today about Catalina Island and how to go there safely and enjoy your boat safely and have the experience of a lifetime. I think all of us remember the first time we were there, and we've spent so many years going back and forth. It's always an exhilarating experience. And to have an island 26 miles away from the shoreline, 32 miles away from Marina del Rey, a place that has good mooring, good food, good fishing, good sea life, is just a huge resource for the boater in Marina del Rey. And I know my daughter was raised out there. My daughter went to Catalina when she was 30 days old, and my granddaughter, my daughter's daughter, was there when she was 30 days old. And every summer, they live now in Washington, and most every summer they find a way to come down here and go to Catalina. And my wife and my daughter want my granddaughter to have some of the same experiences that she had growing up, and the confidence. I know at the California Yacht Club we've run junior programs over there. There are races to and from Catalina. My wife celebrated her 60th birthday over there. It's just a tremendous resource, and getting there safely is really key, and not being intimidated, but also understanding the risks involved in doing it safely is real critical. So what we're trying to do this time of year, this is the spring, this is when we're all thinking about Catalina. We're trying to kind of give a basic course of how to enjoy it. In terms of pre-planning, it's important to keep an eye on weather, and it's much more critical to watch the weather in the summertime than it is the winter. And so it's good to check the weather ahead of time. A really key part of this whole thing also is to plan your departure on when you're going to arrive. You never want to arrive in a strange harbor at night. So you would want, this time of year when it's getting dark at 7:30 or 8, you would plan to be at Catalina by 6, and the last thing you want to do is have a problem in the middle of the night. Another key part of this whole navigation is GPSs, and the current electronics that we all have on our boat are so much smarter than they were a long time ago. I can remember sailing. I raced to Hawaii in 1969. I think the navigator used a Ouija board, and nowadays in the middle of the Pacific where you are within a few hundred feet. So the key would be if you're leaving from Marina del Rey, your course is approximately 168 degrees. You would want to make sure that you clear the PV area well. Sometimes you actually put a waypoint in that's a little out to sea there. The last thing you want to do is get too close to the shore there. There's a lot of lobster pouts and kelp and things that can cause problems. And then at that point, if you're going to Two Harbors, which is probably the most popular, you would head a little further south. So you would have a waypoint for a turning area off PV, and then one right at the entrance to Two Harbors. Two Harbors is the isthmus. It's a very low spot in the land. There's mountains on both sides. So seeing that V in the mountain is another good way to know where you're going. I really believe that in boating, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get all the information you can, and you're looking at the electronics, you're looking at the sea, you're looking at the wind velocity. If you're close to land, you're looking at depth, and you're processing all the information you can to make sure that you're safe. And visually looking at that V is important. Generally, if you have a sailboat, you power with the sails up. Sails are number one, it's redundancy if anything was to happen. Number two, it stabilizes the boat and makes it more efficient. And you actually create some power from the sail when you're under power. So you leave the sail, you put the sail up as soon as you can. Oftentimes we do it as we're going out the main channel in Marina del Rey where it's nice and quiet. And then when we get into the harbor, I generally drop the sails in the harbor. You really don't want to be wrestling with sails in a bouncy ocean. And there's a lee shore there. If you get fairly close to the west side of the entrance to Cat Harbor, there's a windbreak, and it's a whole lot easier to drop your sails and furl. At that point, you would generally, almost all of us use moorings over there. You want to be prepared to anchor. Anchoring safely is a critical part of safety. It's something that should be practiced. But the only time generally at Catalina, it's just more convenient to have moorings. And what you would do is you would call the Isthmus Harbor Master. They monitor Channel 9. You tell them who you are, and you tell them the size of your boat, and they will generally give you a mooring that will allow you to tie up. My wife used to go to Catalina by herself a lot, and she would actually, when she would come into Two Harbors, she would call the harbor master, and she'd explain that she's by herself and ask if they could stand by and help her moor in case she had a problem, and they would always be very helpful. They really make a point of being helpful out there, and their job is to encourage people to go and come to Catalina. What do you do in case of a problem? What happens is, this is especially true if you're doing it in the winter time and a storm comes in, because the primary mooring spots in Catalina are Avalon and Two Harbors, and both of them are very susceptible to northeast winds. And you don't want to have direct exposure. Big winds cause big waves, and big waves cause problems on boats. So there have been several times when we've been there, and some front has come through, and we've had to leave. And what you would typically do if you leave is you would not come back to the mainland in bad weather, but you'd find a more secure anchorage. If you're in Two Harbors, the closest secure anchorage is on the back side of Two Harbors. It's called Cat Harbor, and it's a fully secured 360-degree protection. So what we would do in that case is take the boat around. It's on a 6-knot boat. It's probably an hour and a half, and find smooth waters in there. And there's a good series of moorings in there, or you can anchor in there. If you're at Avalon and a front comes through, the typical place to go is go around to the back side. It's called Palisades. You need to keep, boats get into trouble when they're directly exposed to big waves. And what you need to do is find a way to put land between you and the wind. So if the wind is coming straight into Avalon, and you go around to the backside and you anchor, it's in the leeward, on the leeward side, in the lee of the island. You'll be safe. In that case, you may have to anchor. And certainly anchoring, knowing how to anchor securely and practice it and be confident in it is important. One of the keys to anchoring is proper rode. Having approximately 7-to-1 is a really secure amount of ratio. For example, if you were in 30 feet of water, you would want to have 7 times that, or 210 feet of rode out. And what that does is that puts the pulling of the anchor really parallel to the bottom. So the key is to put plenty of rode out, and then to back down so that you're planting your anchor. You want to plan it and make sure that you're secure. What you try to do is put as much load on that as you can expect, and make sure you're not moving. Make sure that you're planted, and if you have to throw a little stick in the water to make sure you're standing still, it's worth it. But throwing an anchor down without proper rode is not secure. Putting it down with plenty of rode, planting it, backing it down, making sure you're secure, and making sure your boat is not moving is part of anchoring. And it's an important part of getting out of trouble in a boat. Boats get into trouble when they're moving, not when they're anchored.